A breathtakingly beautiful bride, a handsome groom, endless champagne, and a brutally murdered body waiting in the dark. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the psychological nightmare that is the guest list. Forget the glamorous designer dresses and the charming smiles, because we are about to reconstruct a meticulously planned crime scene, piece by piece. You literally won't believe how this all unravels.
Plunge right into the chaos with me. Imagine you're inside this massive, fragile wedding marquee. The wind outside is shrieking, violently slamming against the canvas. And then, a sudden, terrifying blackout. Pitch dark. Out of nowhere, a blood-curdling scream cuts completely through the noise. When the lights finally flicker back on, a waitress bursts through the doors, totally hysterical. She chokes out just a few chilling words. Outside. So much blood. A body. And just like that, the fairy tale completely shatters.
So, we are immediately hit with this massive, glaring question. A luxury wedding, a blackout, a scream, but who actually died? The brilliant hook of this mystery is that the victim's identity is completely hidden from us. We just know someone is lying dead out there, swallowed up by the bog. And the truly terrifying part? Almost every single person at this wedding has a motive. The tension of not knowing who is dead or who killed them is honestly unbearable.
To understand how this trap was set, you've got to look at where we are. We're stranded on the remote Irish island of Inis Amplora. The locals literally call it the Haunted Isle. The weather is absolutely vicious, the waves are violent, and the boats that brought the guests here, they're totally grounded by the storm. Nobody is leaving. It's incredibly claustrophobic, almost like the island itself is this giant predator closing in on the guests as the wind howls around them.
It turns out everyone brought a dangerous secret in their luggage. Let's profile our key players. On the surface, Jules is the flawless, picture-perfect bride, but underneath, she is furious and deeply betrayed. Jono, the loyal best man, he's actually suffocating under crippling, drug-fueled guilt. Then you have Olivia, the fragile bridesmaid carrying a desperate secret, Hannah mourning her sister, and Oifa, the meticulous wedding planner who literally sees everything. It's a masterclass in how the public masks we wear can hide incredible darkness.
But at the very center of this absolute powder keg is the groom himself. Let's look at this wild contrast. Will Slater. To the world, he is the ultimate golden boy, a handsome, charismatic TV star with the world at his feet. But the dark reality? Will is a sociopathic manipulator. He is incredibly calculating and completely devoid of remorse. He corrupts people and targets their vulnerabilities purely for the thrill of it. It's a terrifying realization. The man everyone is here to celebrate is actually the monster of the story.
And the tension finally boils over out in the storm. Jules, the bride, wanders out toward the cliff edge in the pitch dark. Her flashlight cuts through the night and catches Will, her new husband, with her fragile 19-year-old half-sister Olivia. Jules realizes Olivia is missing her gold crown, and her entire reality just fractures. The betrayal is absolute, and with a deadly drop to the churning sea right below them, the confrontation is incredibly visceral.
Standing right at that cliff edge, the psychology gets incredibly dark. Olivia is trapped by lies and her own massive insecurities. But Will? His inner monologue here is what's truly chilling. With the wind howling around them, he actually does the math on how easy it would be to just push her off, to let the storm hide his tracks. It exposes exactly what he is, a predator playing a high-stakes survival game.
Now, I want you to keep this number in mind. 150. That is the exact number of guests packed inside the flapping, precarious walls of the wedding marquee. They're drunk, they're high, and now they're panicked. When that waitress screams about the body, a horrifying realization hits the room. The storm means no one can leave, which means one of these 150 sweating, terrified people is a murderer walking right among them.
But to understand the blood in the bog, we actually have to rewind time. Years ago, at the elite Trevelyan boarding school, Will and Jono stole GCSE exam papers. A young, innocent boy named Darcy found out about it.
To silence him, Will and Jono drag Darcy out for a cruel midnight survival test, tying him up on the beach. By dawn, the tide had come in. Darcy drowned. It was ruled a tragic accident, but tonight, on this island, that deadly cover-up is finally unraveling.
That single tragedy fractured those two boys in completely different ways. Jono is absolutely crushed by survivor's guilt. He's haunted by the boy they killed, constantly turning to drugs and alcohol just to numb the memory. But Will? He feels utterly untouchable. He looks back at a child's death as just a minor inconvenience that he successfully managed. No guilt, no remorse. The contrast between them is absolutely jarring. Now, consider this seemingly innocent detail: the wedding cake knife. It has a finely wrought mother-of-pearl handle. Gorgeous, right? But here is the grim irony. The chef actually notes that this blade was sharpened specifically at the bride's request. It's meant to cut through delicate sponge cake, but it's now sharp enough to easily slice through meat. It's literally a tool of celebration, perfectly designed for a slaughter, waiting right there in the center of the room.
So, flash forward to the exact moment. Those lights go out in the marquee. Jules is reeling. She realizes Will's hands, the very hands cutting the cake with her just moments ago, have been all over her younger sister. The betrayal is total. A deep, violent rage blossoms behind her ribs. And that sudden darkness, it becomes a sanctuary. It's the moment the civilized masks slip off entirely, and raw, violent emotion takes the wheel.
So, how did the execution actually go down? It wasn't random at all. It was a terrifying, meticulously calculated plan. Step 1. Lure Will out of the safety of the tent and into the raging storm. Step 2. Confront him with undeniable proof, old letters that detail his past crimes. And finally, Step 3. Under the total cover of the blackout and the roaring wind, plunge that freshly sharpened cake knife straight into his heart.
And who was the mastermind pulling all the strings? Afy, the wedding planner. Here's the devastating twist. Darcy, the young boy Will murdered years ago, was Afy's little brother. The domino effect of his death was catastrophic. After Darcy drowned, their mother literally died of grief. Their father suffered a fatal heart attack. And Freddie, Afy's partner, carries lifelong survivor's guilt because he was hiding in the dorm that night. Afy brought Will to this remote island specifically to trap him.
Just imagine those terrifying final seconds from her perspective. Ophi is standing over Will by the bog, the wind is screaming, and she holds him completely captive in the beam of her flashlight. She wants him to feel just a fraction of the sheer terror her little brother felt lying tied up on that beach, waiting for the tide. She lifts that finely wrought knife, and for the very first time in his life, the untouchable golden boy is completely helpless.
And then she delivers this dark, poetic confession that completely resolves the mystery of the body in the bog. She says, "And then, for my little brother, I stab him. In his heart, I have raised hell." The entire island, the raging storm, the meticulously planned, extravagant wedding, it was all just an elaborate stage for this single, brutal act, a way to finally close a wound that had been bleeding for years.
Which leaves us with a massive, provocative question. Yes, Aofa avenged her family, and sure, she stopped Will from destroying the lives of his bride, her sister, and his best man. But we have to ask, was this true justice? Or is it simply another dark, bloody tragedy claimed by the haunted Isle of Innocent Emplora? It's an incredibly complex moral gray area that really makes you think. So keep that in mind the next time you see a picture-perfect wedding photo. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I'll catch you in the next one.